Now, every time I'm in a seminar, I ask people this question: how many of you make your own notes and you study from those notes? And I ask them, how many of you do not study from notes, you study straight from a textbook? And again, I get a different set of hands. But here's the thing, if you want to do well in your learning, you want to be a super student, you got to make your own notes. Why? Because when you make your own notes, there are certain advantages. So what are the advantages of making notes? I always say the quality of the results depends on the quality of the notes you make. There are altogether 3 reasons why you should make notes and why notes are powerful, and they are here. Okay, so the first reason we must make notes is because notes save us time. Again, if you read from the textbook, you may be reading 20 pages. But by reading from your notes, you read just 1/10 or 1/5 of that. So it's got to save you time. The second purpose of making notes is because your notes should help you to remember. So they should boost your recall, your memory. And the third reason for making notes is because notes should help you to understand better. Why? See, when you make your own notes, you can organize the material and the keywords in the way which best makes you understand, rather than a textbook. So again, 3 reasons why you must make notes. But here's the thing, how do you make notes right now? If you do make notes, I've discovered when I ask students questions, 90% of students make notes the linear way, or the left brain way. What do I mean? Like, there are many students, when they make notes, they do this. From their textbook, or by listening to a teacher, they highlight all the important points. And in their notes, they merely copy down the important points in terms of paragraphs. And that's how they make notes. Then there are some students who break it up into separate points and sub-points. For example, they do this. They may say, okay, point number 1 is blah, 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 blah. And under this point, they go, okay, under point 1 is a sub-point, part A, go blah, blah, blah. Part B, blah, blah, blah. Part C, blah, blah, blah. And point 2, blah, blah, blah. And again, this is how 90% of students make notes in their life. They make notes using a linear format. Again, linear comes from the word lines, because it's in a linear or line kind of format. But let me ask you this question. This form of note making, which is what 90% of students do they fulfill the 3 objectives? So number 1, let me ask you this question. Do linear notes help you to save time? The answer is yes, they do help you to save time. Why? Because again, instead of so many pages in the textbook, you only pick out the main point, so it does save you time. But the question is this, in linear notes, does it contain only keywords or also non-keywords? And again, the answer is also non-keywords for most of the time. So in other words, it saves you time, but it doesn't save you all the time you could potentially save. You are still wasting 80% of your time by using linear notes. We can further condense the information just 20% like you've seen in the first part of this session, right? Second thing, do linear notes help you to remember well? Do they boost your recall? Okay, the next thing you ask yourself is this. Linear notes, do they help you to remember or recall? Now, the best way to answer this question is to go back to what we talked about just now, which is the 8 principles of supermemory. So by using linear notes, does it activate those 8 principles? Number 1, visualization. Do linear notes contain lots of pictures that you can visualize? The answer is no. Number 2, do linear notes help you to associate or link together the points? Does it show you how all the points are associated or linked? The answer is no. They just list down the points. So there's no visualization, there's no association. Next thing, is it outstanding? When you study from linear notes, does it slap you in the face? Does it make you laugh? Is there humor? No. So there's no humor, it's not outstanding. Right? The next thing, is there color? Again, for most people, when they use linear notes, it's just black or blue. There's no color. The next thing, does it show you an overview? In other words, at one glance, can you see the entire chapter? No. Because normally for linear notes, there are many pages within a chapter. So in other words, if you look at all the 8 principles of memory, it does not activate any single one of them. That is why linear notes do not help you to remember. They help you to forget easily. Right? Okay, third point. Do linear notes help you to understand very well? Now, to answer this question, we must first understand how your brain processes information. How does your brain think? Now, to do that, let me ask you this question. And again, if you have a pen with you, you got a manual with you, play along with me. Now, if I were to give you a word, chair. Think of this word, chair. Now, when you think of this word, chair, I want you to think and tell me all the words that come to your mind when you think of the word chair. Okay, think of it. What comes to mind? Now again, in most of my seminars, when I ask this to students, they'll say things like, well, legs. Okay, so I run on legs. Okay, legs. What else? They say sofa. Okay, sofa. And they say things like wood. Okay, metal. Some people say chairman. Okay, so I run on chairman. Okay, some people say things like rocking chair, so rocking chair. Some people say massage chair, so write down massage. And the list goes on. So in other words, the moment you think of a word, what happens? Your brain will start to create a lot of other associations with that word based on your past experience. Now, if suddenly I give you the word legs, think of the word legs. Tell me all the things that come to your mind when you think of this word legs. Ready, go. Now again, most of my seminars, when I ask this question, people say hairy. Alright? Some people say sexy. Some people say stockings. Some people say feet. Some people say shoes. Some people say boots. And the list goes on. And again, if I ask you, tell me everything you can think of that's related to sexy, boom! Again, a whole host of things will come out linked to this word. Now, what does this mean? How does your brain store information of the past? It stores information not in a linear format, like the pages of a book, but your brain stores information using what we call an associative format. So whenever there's a word, words are linked to that word. Whenever there's another word, words are linked to that word. This is what we call a radiant form of processing information. So that's how your brain thinks. Unfortunately, the way we study is in a linear format. So again, you're inputting linear, but your brain is processing association or radiant thinking. So in other words, linear nodes are brain incompatible. It's like, for example, you got the great Macintosh computer, but using a PC diskette is not as compatible as if you use a Macintosh diskette. Does it make sense? So it does not help you to understand. So going back to this, one more time. Linear nodes do not help you to save enough time. You're still wasting 80% of the time. Number two, they do not help you to recall. They actually help you to forget because there are no principles of memory that's activated. Next thing, they do not help you to understand really well. And that is precisely why 90% of students who study have got problems with their memory, with their concentration, with not having enough time. So if all these things, how can we then make notes? How can we make notes such that it saves us so much time? It helps us to remember, it helps us to understand. And the answer is again by using what we call whole brain notes.